it's your boy Jay here with another installment of data science tips and career tricks. Today we're going to go over resume reviews for a couple of different data science resumes. I figure this is pretty helpful given the fact that a lot of people have been asking for general advice on how they should craft their resume, what things they should add. At the end of the day, I think it is generally a part of the equation, but it might not be as big of a deal as you think, right? And so, a little bit of background on this too. When I used to work at Nextdoor, every single time that we opened up a new job position for a data science intern or a data scientist, it seemed like the floodgates to unqualified Russian bots would just come out and try to spam us with the most amazing wide variety of resumes. And I think that's why a lot of the times people, they apply to these jobs and it goes into a black hole just because of the fact that there's so many resumes. There's an insane amount of resumes. It's crazy. And so I would say that there are definitely some tips that we're going to go over as we critique these example resumes from real people. All right, so the first resume we see here is someone who went to Wesleyan University from Connecticut. And so the number one first rule is that recruiters spend about 2 to 5 seconds on each resume. And that's being generous. I think a lot of the times they also spend about half a second on each resume when they have to get through a lot. And so if you think about how a recruiter might be going like, for each resume, it kind of makes you think that you should kind of craft a resume around that 2 second mark, general, viewing of what your resume is kind of conveying. So in this regard, this person was a staff member for Second Stage, which looks like a campus theater production, which is in its own context really interesting, but within this kind of field of data science, I would immediately throw this out and not even see their machine learning intern position, right? And so it's really important to just highlight the things that are most relevant to the actual position at hand. So if this person is applying to a machine learning job, just put that machine learning intern position like all the way at the top here, and I would even put the education below it, and probably delete the staff member as well. Everything else here looks kind of good. It definitely seems all over the place. Board of directors, that makes zero sense because obviously this person is still in college, so this is like some weird fake title thing. Instructor at Taekwondo and Fitness, maybe demonstrates character. Honestly, this machine learning intern thing is kind of random. So yeah, definitely put this at the top. I would definitely bullet point your descriptions. That makes it easier to read than paragraphs. And then also adding a little bit more detail into this, right? So if you built the machine learning recommendation engine for the health service app, what does that actually mean, right? Like, what is being recommended? I don't know what ENSA is. A regular recruiter won't know what the company ENSA is. We need a little bit more detail behind this, and so I think that is generally the best feedback I can give for this. All right, next one. Okay, zoom. Nope, no zoom. All right, so this one, formatting looks great. Generally, look at this, very easy to see all this contact information, profile, education. I can immediately see their name, which is blacked out here, obviously, and then see their experience. Look at this format, data science analyst, target, senior data analyst, Capital One, senior data analyst, Excel Energy. Projects, boom, boom. Formatting is an A+. General advice for this, I would say that data science analyst is a position that is not real, right? Actually, all data science positions are generally not real. They're all fake. Like machine learning engineer, that was just like a name that someone came up with to classify a position into a certain group of tasks that that person would be doing. But generally, there are more popular fake positions and not popular fake positions, right? So if you are technically a data science analyst, like that says it on your offer letter for Target, I would put data scientist on your resume and just straight up call yourself a data scientist. Because at the end of the day, if you're doing what a data scientist does and you act like a data scientist, then you should just be a data scientist on your resume, and you'll be put into so many more relevant matching algorithms when you have data scientists on there. Like, LinkedIn will recommend you better jobs. Just in general, I don't think people really care. If you changed it, like, if you get an offer from a company and then they do a background check and they're like, oh my God, he or she was a data science analyst instead of a data scientist, rescinded. Yeah, that's not happening. So, yeah, just embellish a little bit. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. This is just your career. It's all, no one gives a shit. All right. Perform A/B test analysis for local price and promotions. Okay. Perform incremental analysis. It's improved average order value, demand per visitor, units per order, net demand sales by 10%. That's good. So if you see right here, the person is highlighting their actual achievement of improvements. Well, this is kind of suspicious, in which it improved 4 different metrics, all by 10%. At least it's actually demonstrating like the business value in this case, right? Down here, if you're looking at this is a little bit confusing because I don't know if this is an actual project or not. I'm guessing it is because there's A/B testing and then there's fraud detection. But you can see it says develop ML model to predict customer fraud transactions using random forest decision tree, logistic regression, naive Bayes. That will potentially reduce chargebacks. Potentially reducing chargebacks doesn't really mean anything. To me, that's kind of like I potentially helped the company, but I'm not sure yet. And as a data scientist, you should always be sure of like what you've done to actually help the company and the business. And so, yeah, never use any of these like words like potentially, hopefully, all that's, you got to be direct. You got to be completely direct with everything that you're doing and everything you're saying. And so the second thing right here is I'll say that it's really weird to actually, I think, list all of these different types of, models. It's kind of like buzzword models being thrown in there without any clear kind of context for what you've actually done, right? And so while it's kind of good to have these buzzwords on here, I'd be able to, one, defend what you did, because when I see stuff like this on people's resumes and then I phone screen them, I'll be like, okay, so I saw you use Gaussian naive Bayes, right? What is that? And if you can't defend or say what it is, then that's an automatic red flag, right? That means that you're just listing shit that, you think sounds good, but you didn't actually do. And so generally just be more cognizant of this stuff. But for the most part, this is really good because when the recruiter looks at your resume for 2 seconds, or the hiring manager looks at your resume for 2 seconds, they're basically just looking at this position right here and then skimming all these things to see if there's anything relevant. Nail the rent checks. Okay, whatever, I'll do that. So that makes sense. And then down here, this all looks good. I would definitely write some more if I was this person on their past experience and probably less stuff on general like projects that I'm sure are from Kaggle right here. Just because your general experience at these two companies is going to be way more interesting than just some Kaggle project that. All right, this one. This resume is for a business intelligence engineer. So this one straight off the bat, I would assume that this person is applying to a business intelligence engineering role. But if they were trying to switch into data science, you'd probably need a headline here to actually describe that you're interested in data science. Bullet points are good, but since they're in the summary, they're not good. And so I don't think that, putting in a bunch of buzzwords into your summary is helpful. I think it just makes it a little bit more cluttered. Maybe that's just me. Damn. I think in the experience part, all this stuff is actually pretty interesting, right? So mentor junior team members, perform data analysis on large-scale complex data sets to drive business decisions. Obviously, I'd love if there was more kind of content there around, drive business decisions, helped improve merchant performance, and increase shipping speed by, X percentage or something. And then I think as a whole, one thing that's generally also helpful is actually bolding things that you think matter when you have too much stuff here, right? So I think I see a lot of stuff that this person has done, and that's great. But and that's good for when you actually, go on site and someone can look at your resume and be like, okay, what did you do here? What did you do here? But for the most part, you really need to bold the things that you actually did well and that you think that actually matters in the recruiter or hiring manager screening part. Otherwise, can't really speak too much for this. It's a fairly long resume. I would definitely shorten it down. I just don't think that all this stuff is going to be relevant when, people are short on time. No one cares this much. No one cares about your job back in 2011 to 2013. Everyone is very, in the current day, so to speak. All right, next one. Hi, so I like this summary. First off, a data scientist with proven experiences to identify the future business problems, design and develop end-to-end analytic solutions to address complex problems. It sounds well written. I like things that are well written. Cool, education, easy, work experience, data scientist intern. Cool, look, I like this formatting. It shows the company, but it bolds the actual position, so you know that whatever thing that they're applying to is relevant. This thing pops out. This looks like a new grad resume, and so they're kind of light on experience and they highlight projects, which is good. I like this a lot. So I used to do this too when I was in college, in which that, given that you have to highlight your experience without that much existing, work experience out there, putting links to your projects is actually very helpful. So you can see that this actually goes to a GitHub link, right? And if I am, someone that's hiring and I, go through and I see these blue links and I think that what they've done is really interesting, like prove that removing the overtime policy would save more than 3 million, then I can actually click into it and look at the code base. And this just goes for anything. If I actually want to see what their code looks like before I even, screen them on the phone, then of course, this makes it really easy to do so. But obviously, if you suck at writing code, then don't link to your GitHub. That goes unsaid. I don't know why I said it. All right. Overall, I like this. I also think that this link kind of text The link to an external web page is actually good for if you work at companies that no one knows about, which in this case would also work for Merck and Co. Right? Because if you actually think that the company that you're working for, you have the experience for, was really valuable and it's kind of like some hot startup that no one knows about. Okay, not hot startup, that's an oxymoron. It's just like a small startup that no one knows about, right? Of course, you should put a link in there, and then it makes it easier for the recruiter to see, how relevant that job was, or that company was to what you're working on right now. I think for an intern position, as well, it is good to highlight the tools that you use. I think everyone is pretty like they know that interns don't really do that much at a job anyway, and so if you can at least highlight like the skills that you learned and like the things that you learned how to do, like export and manipulated large data sets using SQL. I don't know about that. That's kind of like manipulated a large data set. You could do like a select all where ID is 10, and that would be like manipulating a large data set because like data sets are big in SQL. So I'd be a little bit more descriptive here. Add a boost model to classify clinical trials, investigate the results. Definitely would be a little bit more descriptive there. What did you investigate? And then I think using Git and S3 for code management. Yeah, that kind of shows that you know how to use Git. That's good to know actually because a lot of data scientists do not know how to use Git. So all in all, definitely being a little bit more descriptive, and just think about how much like each part of your resume matters too, right? Like if half of your resume is competition and projects, but you know that most of what matters on your resume is this data scientist intern position, I would try to embellish this much more than I would try to embellish these competitions and projects, right? Because this is what actually people care about, like work experience. And so just adding more things that you've done, bolding it, being a little bit more descriptive. You don't have to add more bullet points here, but just adding more description to what exactly it was that this person did. It's definitely helpful. Yeah. Next one, last one. All right, so this person went to UW. Nice. I bolded out this because I think the company was too small. But okay, so summary of qualifications. They are proficient in these things. So first off, what I see here is I go immediately to work experience, right? And I see data scientist. Cool. All right, that good. That matches the position I'm hiring for. Great. Research assistant. See how much experience they have. They've been doing it for 2 years. Cool. So generally, if I was looking pretty quickly, then I would probably put this into the yes pile, right? But let's say that we're being a little bit more descriptive here, and I don't like this grammar stuff, but I get why people do it. Like, obviously it shouldn't be capitalized. I think the summary of your qualifications, especially when you have like a few more years of experience, should be more towards like what you're looking for. Given in this sort of space that we're in where data science can mean 5 different positions, I think it's important to start putting in the headline like actual jobs that you have a preference for, right? It's not just I'm willing to take everything under the sun anymore. It's more like, I have experience, I have preferences, obviously I have skills that work better towards certain positions over others. Let's highlight those things. So definitely should be doing that. Let's look at some of this work experience. So develop a data pipeline. Interesting. Customize spacey processing pipeline to mine entities in relation to some keyword and sentences. Apply word embeddings and compute for cluster traded companies. So all this stuff is really interesting, and I would definitely ask them about it during the phone screen. I think the only thing that should be added is the business impact, which is something that I think I keep on coming back to again and again, right? Like, what does it mean that all these things are being done? Like, why in the first place were they being done, right? I blacked out this company, but generally the company is something that I didn't know about, right? Which is also a piece of advice is to, put in the link right there. But if I don't know what the company's name is and then I see a bunch of this stuff being done, I'm definitely a little bit more curious towards why all of this stuff was actually done. Like, why did this company need a data scientist to do all these, like, keywords extracting, like implementing deep learning models in TensorFlow? Um, all that stuff is, it's a little bit tidbit, it's a little nitpicky, but generally I think adding some more business impact is always helpful for your resume. But generally also, if you have, at least displaying like very well and prominently that you have, 2 years of work experience as a data scientist, that will definitely always help your resume review, like entry level into getting a job. Okay, cool. So that was a pretty good resume review session. I hope that everyone got some good tips on what to do for their resumes. If you have any other questions / you want a resume review, you can sign up for our interview starter package on Interview Query, a company that I founded. And then, yeah, thank you for watching.